In this video, I will explain the Korean movie Ear Murder, adapted from a true story. This doctor is extremely heartbroken, trying to hold back his tears. He is preparing for a forensic examination of his own wife. This is the most unfortunate thing in the world, but in order to find out the cause of his wife's death, he has to do it. In 2011, a world-shaking community disaster occurred in Korea. A pregnant woman in South Korea died from a lung disease of unknown cause. Similar cases are being discovered more and more, causing consternation in Korean society. According to investigators, the incident sickened nearly 1 million people and killed approximately 20,000. And what is the culprit that causes this disease? Today, let's watch the movie adapted from this true story. The male lead, Tae-Hun, is a surgeon. He has a good wife, Gil-Ju, and their son is Tae-Woo. Tae-Hun's sister-in-law, Young-Ju, is a prosecutor. In the morning, before going to work, Tae-Hun comes in to comfort his son. The boy was tired and rested in bed. At noon, Tae-Hun called his wife to talk to her. His wife said that their son was fine, and he attended a swimming session in the afternoon. Tae-Woo, a boy who was very good at swimming, but today he fainted while swimming. When Tae-Hun received the news, he immediately went to the emergency room. His wife is extremely worried. The situation is very critical. Tae-Woo is having surgery, and Tae-Hun will join the operation team for his son. Tae-Hun came out of the operating room with a sad face. He told his wife, their son is out of danger, but 1/3 of his lungs have developed sclerosis. According to the diagnosis, pneumonia is acute and extremely dangerous. Treatment can be long and unpredictable. His wife is extremely worried and sad. The wife returns home in the evening, prepare the necessary things to bring to the hospital. Early the next morning, Young-Ju's sister-in-law came to Tae-Hun's house to visit his family. She rang the doorbell and waited for a long time, but no one answered. She entered the house by herself. She found her sister unconscious in her bedroom, on the hospital stairs. Tae-Hun got worried and rushed down. He just received terrible news. My wife passed away. In just over a day, he lost his loving wife. My son got a dangerous disease, and the pain was heavy on the soul. During the funeral, Young-Ju couldn't help but ask Tae-Hun about his sister's death. Tae-Hun said his wife's condition is exactly the same as his son's, also acute pneumonia. 2/3 of the lungs have sclerosis, too. Therefore, this level of damage must have manifested at least a year ago. Young-Ju is confused. She and her sister just had a comprehensive health checkup about half a year ago. Her sister is in perfect health. There is no problem with her lungs. Tae-Hun rushed to the hospital after hearing the news and looked up his wife's medical records. As Young-Ju said, my wife's lungs are fine. So what disease within half a year caused such damage? To answer this question, Tae-Hun reluctantly performed an autopsy on his wife's body. After the lung tissue was removed, the hospital immediately sent it to the CDC. The results showed no signs of toxins or bacteria, presumably due to foreign agents intruding. A doctor said, there was a professor who found a similar case a few years ago, and he's researching acute pulmonary fibrosis. So, Tae-Hun went to this professor for help. When Tae-Hun took out his son's photo, the professor guessed what he came for and gave the results of his research to Tae-Hun. The disease was discovered when it first appeared 5 years ago. At first, people assumed it was just a common cold, until the patient died. The professor started collecting information about similar cases. Then he also conducted an epidemiological investigation. But all failed because this type of pneumonia only appears in spring, autumn, winter, and summer. It suddenly disappears. Tae-Hun got information about the patients from the professor. He made a survey to send to the patients, see if he can get any useful feedback, but many surveys were sent without any response. Tae-Hun and Young-Ju decided to go to the patient's house to investigate directly. The first case of a man who owned a car repair shop was originally a family affair, happy family, but acute pulmonary fibrosis took his wife and twin sons. Losing loved ones and losing hope in life, now this man only turns to alcohol to forget the pain. Case 2. A female athlete who lost consciousness on the practice field is now life is tied to a hospital bed and an oxygen tube. Her caregiver, her mother, was also diagnosed with this disease and began to suffer from it. We investigated a few more patients, all of whom were similar. The disease came on suddenly, and their relatives had no history of lung involvement. Really stuck. But then something missed appeared unexpectedly. His family and other patients have this humidifier in their homes. Could the smoke from the air humidifier be the culprit? So Tae-Hun invited people from the Centers for Disease Control, prepared an experiment with mice at his home. Report: after 2 weeks, the lab mice all died of lung disease and turned into symptoms. The main cause of death was inhalation of PHMG. They found large amounts of it in the home humidifier. If a person inhales it for a long time, it causes lung complications, leading to death. Why does this substance appear in the humidifier? Tae-Hun hurriedly took out the photos taken during the previous investigation. He noticed the same drug next to every humidifier in the house. This water is put into the humidifier to increase its ability to disinfect and bactericidal properties. Tae-Hun recalled that he once asked his wife about this drug, but he didn't care because it had a national safety certificate. This medicine bottle containing this PHMG is the culprit. Tae-Hun let Young-Ju know the news. She went to her boss with the desire for an order to stop selling this product, but the evidence is not enough to ban the sale of a product with a national safety standard certificate. Young-Ju finds Tae-Hun to discuss. Why does this pneumonia only happen in the spring? And the incidence is mostly among young children, pregnant women, and full-time housewives. In winter, when the temperature drops, most people use a humidifier. They inhale large amounts of this substance in the winter, and in the spring, these symptoms flare up. Women are only housewives. Children are the ones who are exposed to it the most. Reasonable cause. Investigative documents and experimental results on animals were sent to journalists and television stations through Young-Ju's relationship. The news was released on the news the next morning, and the families of the victims finally learned what caused the illness in their loved ones. Information from the Disease Control Board confirmed the smoking increase the risk of lung cancer 10 times, hepatitis B causes liver cancer 20 times, and PHMG causes lung fibrosis 47 times. The published information shocked nearly the entire Korean population. 1/5 of the Korean population uses this product. At the same time, this news has a great impact on O2, the company that manufactures this product. They immediately denied all allegations. The company's top leader in Korea, Director Park, held an emergency meeting. He instructed all employees to quickly deal with this matter. He also gave the caller Woo-sik, the company's production manager, who was on leave. Woo-sik is currently reading the internal report on the substance. The report confirmed that the substance causes respiratory illness, so they really put aside the ethical issue to bring the product to market. Woo-sik went to see Director Park. Director Park said that he is about to take on the position of director for the Asia region. If Woo-sik settles this smoothly, the director position in Korea will be handed over to him. Standing in front of fame and fortune and looking at the powerful board, Woo-sik made the choice to throw away his own conscience. Woo-sik started to act, after destroying all research reports. Woo-sik invites several members of Congress to a meeting and promises to fully fund the campaign in exchange for their help. After that, the television station was the first to be pressured to withdraw the relevant report, citing the lack of fact-checking. The prosecutor's office also received sudden concern from members of parliament, accusing prosecutor Young-Ju of making a serious mistake. A form of discipline awaits her. Young-Ju immediately resigned, setting up a law office of her own to represent the victims. She has contacted all of the victims' families in recent years, inviting them to the office to become plaintiffs. She started looking for lawyers to assist her in the case, but all refused. Young-Ju finds her senior, who is also her teacher, lawyer Zhang, a very famous lawyer in the legal world, taught her about justice and reason. She handed over the document, waiting for his response, but in the end, what he tried to get was a rejection. Undeterred, she continued to pursue the case. Many of the victims' families began to reach out to her. Young-Ju sincerely shares with everyone, the civil lawsuits they pursue can drag on for decades without guaranteeing a victory for them. She will follow the case to its end. She received the support of everyone. The victim's family is really determined to find justice for their loved ones. Dr. Tae-Hun stands to bear all costs for the lawsuit. After many months, despite their best efforts, the records they collected were still not legal enough to open a trial. But at this moment, an American man came to the lawyer's office. His wife and daughter also died of this acute pulmonary fibrosis. With the factor of 4 and under pressure from the government, a trial will be held. Director Park is really angry about this. This lawsuit makes the company stand in front of a huge amount of compensation, and it is more dangerous if brought before a U.S. court, as there is also the possibility of the company's dissolution. The hearing date has come. Everyone is present. The trial is about to begin. At this time, the lawyer representative for O2 Corporation appeared, unexpectedly. This person is the lawyer Zhang that Young-Ju sought out earlier. It turned out that on the day that Young-Ju came, Woo-sik and the director Park had already come. With a price of 1 billion won, they easily persuaded Zhang to their side. Young-Ju didn't expect that someone she once admired was a hypocritical bastard, and the document that she tried to give him was really hard on herself, but Zhang is an excellent lawyer. The first denied all allegations related to the disinfectant product, assume that Tae-Hun's previous experimental results are inaccurate and lack a legal basis. They will invite the most reputable experts to conduct toxicity testing of the product, and request that the trial be cancelled until the test results are available. Young Joo immediately objected, saying that O2 Group was deliberately delaying. She said the group is converting from a joint stock company to a limited liability company when the conversion is successful, even if the lawsuit is lost. The liability that this company has is insignificant. She asked to continue the trial because the support for the victim is urgent and cannot wait. Zhang predicted Young Ju's reaction. He said O2 has unconditionally compensated 5 billion won for the victims, and the victims have signed to receive the money. Everyone immediately someone betrayed them. That person was the father of the twins, Woo Sik. Gave him 200 million won for a list of victims. This man could not stand the temptation of the money. Finally, the judge decided to postpone the trial. The trial ended too quickly, dealing a strong blow to Young Ju and everyone. Tae-Hun immediately went to the man who betrayed and angrily questioned him. The man apologized because, in order to have money to treat his wife and children, he had fallen into debt with loan sharks that he could not pay. After hearing the story, Tae-Hun did not blame this man. This life is really hard. This life is really hard. Instead, Tae-Hun finds Woo Sik to vent his anger. If you think this can make us give up, you're wrong. We will fight until you pay the price and take responsibility for what you did. During the trial's postponement, Young Ju sought out a prestigious, leading chemist, professor, activist, and organizer of social movements. He accepted to testify in the role of an expert. On the other side, Woo Sik also acts. He met the person in charge of the product testing laboratory appointed by the court. Using his fame to bribe him, he has yet to officially accept the offer because it is known that Tae-Hun is also looking for other experts to make an independent assessment. Woo Sik went to see Tae-Hun in his son's hospital room. Woo Sik is aware that Tae-Hun's son requires assistance, lung transplant surgery, and offers conditions to discuss with Tae-Hun. Tae-Hun sat thinking for a long time. Finally, after some time, he apologized to his son, deciding to side with justice. The second trial was reopened. Young Ju invited the professor to the witness stand. He asserted that PHMG is harmless when in contact with the skin. But if it is in a gaseous form, long-term exposure can be fatal to humans. People were really excited about that news, but lawyer Zhang seemed to know this in advance. He brought out a book, which this professor wrote 11 years ago, asserting that the substance is harmless. The professor has no if I had the chance to explain. His words are now worthless. Next, the toxicology lab gave its results. No effective steam disinfectant was found to cause damage to the alveoli or surrounding tissue. Experiments animal studies have shown that pH concentrations in disinfected water products are safe for humans. At this time, Young Ju's side fell completely into a passive position. She raised doubts about the integrity of the experiment, because O2 Company has provided a lot of funding for the lab so far. The laboratory representative replied, they invited an impartial supervisor, who ensured fairness of the experiment, who all accepted. That person is Dr. Tae-Hun, who initiated this lawsuit. Tae-Hun stepped up to confirm, saying what he didn't want to say. Humidifiers have nothing to do with lung disease. Maybe Tae-Hun sold his conscience for his son. People are extremely hurt and depressed. O2 Corporation won the case. Director Park immediately organized a party to celebrate. Counselors, representatives of the laboratory, even the professor that Young Ju invited present, all of them had been bribed as part of Woo Sik's scheme. Also in this party, Director Park tasked Woo Sik with changing the labels of all the disinfectants in stock and pushing them all out on the market. These people have lost their humanity. He is also happy to hand over the position of director to Woo Sik, and tomorrow he will fly to Malaysia to take the position of director of the Asia region. However, as soon as he arrived at the airport, Director Park was stopped and given an exit ban. The TV news reported that the toxicological report of the disinfectant belonging to the O2 group had been made fake. Central Hospital's D.I.E. Tae-Hun released a video showing that the lab manipulated the experiment to hide the actual results. When Woo Sik was watching this news, he fell to his knees and burst into tears. It is unbelievable that this was all Woo Sik's plan. That day, Woo Sik went to see Tae-Hun, and what he sent back was a letter and a family photo. The letter tells the story of his family, as well as Tae-Hun. Woo Sik has a small, happy family with his wife and a daughter. Then it was the pulmonary fibrosis that took everything away. The gentle wife and the daughter he loved so much, and what caused that disease was the product of the company to which he devoted himself wholeheartedly. Woo Sik and Tae-Hun find each other. The meeting of husbands and fathers who have suffered the pain of loss. They plan to take revenge and make the perpetrators of this crime pay. Woo Sik knows that Director Park and Company O2 will find ways to hide. Even if they lose the lawsuit, they only face a civil sentence. He decided to let Tae-Hun infiltrate, recording evidence that made his claims indisputable. These unscrupulous men now face murder charges. Young Ju has been returned to the prosecutor's office to look into this case. The incident has become a nationwide shock. In Korea, A meeting of the victim's family and departments was held. Here, the victim's family is extremely disappointed, and Tae-Hun is extremely angry because what they heard was not an apology but an expulsion of responsibility from a government agency. Here's a totally true story. PHMG toxicity in humidifier products caused an outbreak of lung disease in the spring of 2006 to 2011. It has been detected and banned since 2011. Until May 2016, the person in charge of this product in Korea will admit the product contains harmful chemicals for the first time, apologize, and compensate for damages to the families of the victims. According to a survey of the Korean government in 2020, there are more than 950,000 people infected and 20,000 people die. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.